It was back in March in 2017, and I was with who I thought was my friend. It was drug buddy. She was a very bad heroin addict, and I was just dabbling into it, and she gave me a shot in my arm. It was that night when I realized just how heavy I was, just how deep I was, just how dark I was, what a dark place it was that I was in. And it wasn't until after she did it, that all of a sudden I was woken up with water splashing on my face. I guess apparently I was on the kitchen floor. I woke up with her throwing water on me, and after she was slapping me, and I woke up and I just remember her like, "You're blue, blue," and I was like, "Oh my gosh," and she's like, "You have to get out of here, get out of here." And so I said, "I need an ambulance." "No, you got to get out of here." So her and her friend tried to drag me down the street, and I said, "I won't go." And I was trying to fight, "Until you call an ambulance, I won't go." And then I made sure that someone was on the phone with the ambulance. And then as they dragged my body down the worst street in Springfield, Missouri, they dumped my body like I was a bag of trash. And then they stripped me of everything that they wanted off of my body. It was then that I cried out and I said, "Jesus, help me." And then all of a sudden, I closed my eyes, and it was like the dark, all of a sudden I closed my eyes. All of a sudden my eyes got really dark. It's just blacker than anything we've ever seen on earth. All of a sudden I felt like I was just falling, and I felt like a little bit of a chill. And I was falling. I felt so fearful. It was so black. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. I am feeling it more. I'm feeling more scared than I've ever felt in my life. I just started falling and falling and falling, and darkness as it started to get hotter and hotter and hotter. And then all of a sudden, it was like I landed like a quicksand. All of a sudden I felt like my eyes start adjusting, when you're trying to wake up, except reality felt more real than I've ever felt in my life. So the first thing I did was I looked up, and when I looked up, I thought I was looking at a sky, but it was pure darkness, pure black. It literally hurt your senses. It felt like fiery darts, literally coming in my eyes, fiery darts hitting all my senses, all my pores, every fiber of my being. It literally hurt so bad just looking in the darkness. And when I landed, I started looking, and I was realized I was in a pit, a cave. And it was this cave was just fear. That fear instantly was no fear I've ever felt before. My whole life, I used to struggle with anxiety and panic attacks. The worst panic attack that I've ever had on earth, I would times it by 1 billion, and it's constant. It's constant. It's constant. The fear is constant. The hopelessness, the feeling of, oh my gosh, that you're never, ever going to get out. You are stuck. You are never going to get out. When I started focusing on where I was, and I felt like I was about 2 football fields away, and I still felt like an ant to when I looked up and I saw black gates, which looked like they had been on fire. So they were a charcoal, and they were the evil. It's so hard to talk about. Talking about this experience is really hard because I've struggled with PTSD from it, and this is why I'm really speaking about it now, and I'm really trying to keep it together. It's really hard to explain it because you don't realize just how torturous you just torture, and not having the presence of God, we have the presence of, even if you don't have God in your life, even if you don't even believe in God, at least we have him on earth, when it's so different when you're there. It looked like it was just so big, and it was decrepit, and like each end, like it would go like that, and each end would have spikes. It was like, I didn't have to move my head to look. My soul was so much more sensitive because now, the human canvas is, what's covering our soul. And the thing is when I was down there, my soul felt so much more sensitive. And it was from there that, I looked through. It was like I didn't walk towards the gates. But I could see through the gates. It was like a lake. It was like a lake of fire, but it was like a big pit. A big, huge pit of love like fire. However, it was like I couldn't see the flames. I just saw the shimmering light, because the shimmering light looked as if like the pit was so deep that you couldn't see the flames. It was just, I had no idea how deep it would be. Even if you don't even believe in God, your soul will know. Your soul will know that you're in hell. And I was in hell. It was then I started looking down because I was stuck. I felt like I was in quicksand. So I started looking around, and I started noticing like it was like waves of like clay. It was like pink, like a salmon colored clay. I felt like I was in like the core of the earth or something, because I felt like there was just absolutely no way you could get out. And it's on top of the fear, on top of the hopelessness, on top of feeling alone, on top of feeling stuck, my mind all of a sudden started replaying my life. Replaying every sin that I have done. You relive it constantly, and it's so loud. You relive your feelings. And the one that stuck in my mind the most was my mama. That's why I call her my mom. She's my mama. And my mama she's a prayer warrior. And, she's been praying for me all these years to get out of this lifestyle and to get away from drugs. And it was like, when I was in hell, I could hear her, "Oh, Lisa, I wish you would listen and just come back to Jesus." And that's when all of a sudden I said, "I wish I would have listened." And all of a sudden my body set on fire. My soul set on fire. And, when my soul set on fire, it was so much hotter, because I used to have problems like cutting and burning myself because I hated myself. I know burns and stuff, and there is nothing like your soul being on fire. It hurts so bad. Like it can't even explain it. You can't even explain it. There is no way to explain the torture. Like, I could hear myself screaming in my head. The thoughts were like if you put some headphones on or whatever in your ears, and you were to like scream as loud as you can, it's like a billion times louder than that is what your thoughts. You're alone in your thoughts. You're alone in your sins. It's replaying over and over, on top of fear, on top of hopelessness, on top of fire, hotter than you can ever imagine. I wouldn't wish hell on my worst enemy. And that's the whole reason why I'm trying to tell the world. Is because there is now truly a hell. And it's so horrible. And I don't want anyone to go if you don't believe in God. Oh, please ask Jesus into your heart and save you. If you do know God, repent right now. Ask for forgiveness. You never know when you're gonna die. You never know when Jesus is gonna come. You never know. And it was then that it got hotter and hotter and hotter, and I like my teeth were just gnashing. They were gnashing, and I could feel like my teeth just breaking over and over. And your jaw's locked, and you're screaming in your mind. There's no water. There's no water. You feel as if your mouth is dry, or your soul's dry. Your soul's so dry. If only I just had a drop of water. If only I just had a drop of water on my tongue, I would feel some kind of relief. It was then that all of a sudden the screaming continued. There's just constant crying, constant misery. You think about the time you've cried, like the worst pain you've ever felt in your heart, like like emotional pain. You're crying and heaving. A billion times worse. And when I say a billion times worse, I really mean it's a billion times worse than any negative thing. Every negative thing you've ever felt in your whole life, you will feel in hell. And you will feel it a billion times. And you will feel it forever. And ever. And ever and ever and ever. As I was screaming, as I was gnashing my teeth, as I was wishing, the fear, the hope, hopelessness, everything, all of a sudden, I was just like, Jesus, 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 help me, Jesus, Jesus, save me. As I cried out to Jesus, immediately I was ripped from those flames, and all of a sudden I was in an ambulance, like still felt on fire, and I was screaming in the ambulance. I looked and I saw a paramedic. Didn't really know where I was at or what was going on. I was very confused, but I saw the kindness in her eyes and realized all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, I'm not in hell anymore.